Here's the bottom line. Harry and Meghan have become hate figures for much of Britain, never mind the British media, for two reasons. The first is James Baldwin's timeless quote. I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. And the second reason is that they gave the finger to Fleet Street. And Fleet Street won't accept that. I sometimes wonder whether, if my old man hadn't been made redundant by the Daily Telegraph, I would have been one of the people leading the line of attack on these two. Because when you've got Fleet Street in your blood, when you've got ink in your blood, any attempt to lead your life as if we're not in charge is greeted with absolute fury. Look at what happens if you dare to stand up to the British tabloid media. They will kick you round the room until you're bruised and bloodied, and quite possibly, in the case of the Duchess of Sussex, of course, contemplating the worst possible way out of that level of abuse and unkindness. And yet they carried on. They refused to buckle. They tried to play by the rules. They sought the kind of deal that royals have been securing through the ages in their dealings with Fleet Street. They tried to get a kind of a hiatus, a reprieve, a ceasefire, but they didn't. They didn't get it. The palace, for good or for ill, did not come in on behalf of Prince Harry and his wife and demand that the vampires of Fleet Street stop sucking their blood every morning. So they decided to do everything their own way. They decided to rewrite their own rulebook and live entirely by that. They decided that they would not dance to anybody's tune but their own. They are not perfect. They are not infallible. Some of the stuff they do is a little bit silly, but my goodness me, they're brave. Imagine that. Imagine growing up in that goldfish bowl and deciding that you're going to smash the glass and see whether or not you can survive. That's what they can never be forgiven for. And nobody understands this better than the Fleet Street machine that needs the royal family just as much as the royal family needs the Fleet Street machine. That relationship is not parasitic, as I used to think. It's symbiotic. There are lines that will never be crossed. And if the unexpected or the unprecedented happens, then the reaction will be negotiated. How can we possibly live in a land where the late Queen's second son, Andrew Windsor, is treated more gently and more quietly, calmly, insert whatever adverb you prefer, than her youngest grandson, or rather the King's youngest son, the current King's youngest son? How can we possibly live in a land where Andrew Windsor is talked of in the same breath as Prince Harry? Think about that for a minute. That's been done because of a deal, whether implicit or explicit, between the royal family and the Fourth Estate, the media, the newspapers. You can keep your access, you can come on your tours, we'll answer your questions. But the other lad, he's out of favour now. And his wife, open season. You can do whatever the hell you want with her. You can write what you want, you can say what you want, you can print what you want, you can broadcast whatever you want about her. I know what you're thinking. Didn't exactly end well, where we gave you the same free pass on Harry's mum. But hey-ho, the world has turned. That memory has faded a bit. So open season on Meghan Markle. Write what you want, say what you want, do what you want. So they did. And they continue to do so, which is why even today, the front pages of every newspaper are somehow turning the fact that they are more interesting than his brother and sister-in-law into something of which they are guilty. Netflix trailer steals the spotlight from Waleses. It's absolutely pathetic. Breathtakingly pathetic, actually, that the machine, the war machine of Fleet Street is now so devoid of justification for its bile that they're claiming the release date of a Netflix film is a declaration of war. And do you know what? I hope it is. I hope it is, because if my wife had been treated like his wife has been treated, all bets would be off. If I had gone to my brother and asked him to help me protect my wife from the kind of abuse that Meghan Markle has been exposed to, and that abuse seeps from mainstream media to social media and drips into every corner of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And my brother had turned around to me and said, yeah, well, there it is. But I'd be declaring war. If this was 400 years ago, I'd be raising a flag on Hounslow Heath and contemplating a coup for the crown. But those days are over. The prize today is just PR. The prize today is public image. And here, finally, is the question. It's just envy, isn't it? The whole point of the attacks upon Prince Harry and his wife, whether they're coming from within the palace, on the record, off the record, nowhere near the record, or whether it's coming from Fleet Street, is because they're simply better at everything. They're better at PR. They're more media savvy, they're more articulate, they're more empathetic. Crucially, they're more accomplished. Look at their careers, compare their careers. They're more accomplished and they're more attractive. So here is the real sin of Harry Windsor. And this only occurred to me last night. It's box fresh. I'm going to throw open the phone lines and you can kick it to pieces if you want on 0345 6060 973. But the real reason for the hatred, the viciousness, and this astonishing level of abuse is because they make a complete mockery of royalty itself. The idea that he gets the top job and he sits in the sidecar for the rest of his life is absolutely absurd. But we can never ever admit that because it shakes the very foundations of the royal family. So, do you think that the real reason why Prince Harry and his wife have been turned into public enemies numbers 1 and 2 in this country?
James O'Brien recently delivered a piece of commentary that cuts straight through the noise. And the more you sit with his words, the clearer it becomes why he so unapologetically refers to Prince Harry and Meghan as the Duke and Duchess of Courage and Kindness. That title isn't flowery praise. It's a reflection of lived reality. In the face of relentless hostility, misinformation, and outright cruelty, Harry and Meghan have continued to stand firm. They've chosen empathy over bitterness, service over silence, and truth over comfort. Even while being attacked for daring to step outside an outdated and deeply unequal system, they've consistently used their platform to highlight mental health, social justice, community uplift, and basic human dignity. What makes this situation especially infuriating is how aggressively Meghan Markle was vilified from the very beginning. Yes, every woman who marries into that institution faces scrutiny, but Meghan was subjected to a level of hostility that was unmistakable and unprecedented. She was distorted, dehumanized, and torn apart in ways that went far beyond standard tabloid cruelty. This was never just about traditional protocol. It exposed a deeply rooted problem within the British press and society itself, an inherited inability to see people of colour as equals. When something can't be controlled, shaped, or forced into a narrow colonial narrative, it is attacked, defamed, and targeted for destruction. Meghan's refusal to be small, silent, or submissive made her a threat, and the backlash was vicious. Let's be honest. Had Harry married a white English rose, the narrative would have been completely different. The media would have applauded, celebrated, and protected the relationship just as it has done countless times before. Instead, he married a brilliant, accomplished, globally admired woman, an actress, philanthropist, and humanitarian who happened to be biracial and American. And suddenly the knives came out. The irony is impossible to ignore. Harry didn't just date her. He married her, built a life with her, and chose love over institutional approval. That choice clearly unsettled people who thrive on hierarchy, rivalry, and resentment. The jealousy, especially from royal-adjacent circles, has been palpable. This is where James O'Brien's perspective matters. He refuses to play along with the lies and false equivalencies pushed by much of the British media. He names the hypocrisy plainly. He challenges the double standards and reminds people that Harry and Meghan didn't break the system, they exposed it. The obsession, the smear campaigns, and the relentless negativity have only highlighted the moral bankruptcy of the press itself. Time and again, Harry and Meghan have been proven right. Meanwhile, their critics simply move the goalposts, rewrite history, and pretend past attacks never happened. That's why the title Duke and Duchess of Courage and Kindness resonates so deeply. Courage to walk away from harm. Courage to protect their children. Courage to speak uncomfortable truths. And kindness, real kindness, in continuing to uplift others rather than seek revenge. The British media may rage, distort and lie, but Harry and Meghan have already won by choosing integrity, love and humanity. That is why their light continues to shine, no matter how hard others try to dim it. Let's be blunt. The way Meghan has been treated by the British press and certain segments of the public amounts to a calculated character assassination. It reveals institutional racism wrapped in the language of plausible deniability. While scrutiny comes with the territory, Meghan wasn't given the standard treatment. What she faced was coordinated, strategic, and designed to make her toxic so that others would look better by comparison. This wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. The underlying issue is the media's inability to see a woman of colour as anything other than a threat to be controlled or colonised. If they can't dominate it, they defame it. Had Harry married a posh white English woman, he'd be receiving sympathetic coverage instead of relentless attacks. The jealousy fueling this narrative would not exist. By refusing to play the game and calling out the poison, Harry and Meghan earned that title, Courage and Kindness. And for that, the machinery has worked overtime to destroy them. Yet the harder it tries, the more transparent it becomes. The press has exposed itself for exactly what it is. Strip away the noise, the coordinated attacks, and the harassment campaigns driven by hidden agendas, and what remains are two people who continue to be a force for good. They keep showing up. They keep helping. They keep choosing values over vengeance, even while a billion-dollar media apparatus works overtime to tear them down. That takes real courage, the kind that doesn't come from a script or a paycheck, but from conviction. They could have disappeared. They could have gone silent. They could have let the bullying win. Instead, they doubled down on their work, their principles, and their commitment to making a tangible difference in people's lives. That is kindness in action. That is real strength. And the fury it provokes tells you everything about who is really threatened here. While all women who marry into that institution face media attacks, Meghan was subjected to something different. A racist vilification campaign used strategically to rehabilitate the images of others. As tabloids painted her as every negative stereotype imaginable, they simultaneously softened coverage of others with far more serious scandals. The math is simple. They needed a villain, and Meghan's race, independence, and refusal to be controlled made her the perfect target. This is manipulation on a grand scale. It speaks volumes about an establishment that cannot fathom a woman of colour who won't be broken by its machinery. Institutional racism isn't subtle. In this case, it's the framework. From editorial choices to front-page headlines, the coverage has been shaped by a media ecosystem that has never had to question its own supremacy. Meghan's refusal to be diminished became a direct threat to that comfortable status quo. If Harry had married a white woman from a prominent background, we'd be drowning in fairy tale narratives. Instead, Meghan was met with relentless contempt from day one, purely because of her racial identity. Every minor misstep was inflated into scandal, while similar behaviour by others was excused or ignored. This wasn't coincidence. It was coordinated. The jealousy and rivalry swirling behind the scenes only fueled the fire. Negative stories, anonymous quotes, and carefully planted gossip all served a purpose. Make others look better by comparison. The result was a full-scale media operation designed to destroy a woman for daring to be accomplished, confident, and equal. British journalism has made a mockery of itself through deliberate dishonesty and transparent bias. Instead of facts, it trades in sensationalism. Instead of accountability, it doubles down on lies. The damage to its credibility is self-inflicted and irreversible. What Harry and Meghan have done, whether people like it or not, is shine a spotlight on a system that has been festering for decades. The harassment, the manufactured narratives, the coordinated attacks have been laid bare. The public is finally waking up to the reality that media manipulation is systemic, not imaginary. The British press desperately needs an ethical overhaul. Diversity and inclusion are not side issues, they are central to the problem. When newsrooms lack representation, the same racist tropes get recycled without challenge. Real change would require self-reflection and accountability, and that is exactly what these institutions resist. As a society, we have to demand better. We have to stop accepting excuses and start holding powerful institutions responsible for the damage they cause. Enough is enough. Before you go, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future deep dives and honest commentary. Your support helps keep these conversations going and pushes back against the noise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.